I clash with the tablecloth.
There's a gnome in my face.
Hi, and welcome back to Sticks and Strings. I'm Naomi.
I'm Beth.
I'm me.
How are you guys? This week it is full-on February, and we are in the midst of all of our challenges. Mm-hmm. There is a sale on the Etsy shop going on, correct?
Yes.
What is it?
20% off of 2 items or more.
Okay, cool.
And that includes things like needle minders and stuff that...
And scissor fobs, those cute Valentine scissor fobs you made.
Yeah.
So check it out. We have the link tree is in our description box. If you click on that, it'll take you. There's a link there to our Etsy shop. Mm-hmm. So Beth's gonna go first.
I'm tangled.
And I'm going
sorry.
to knit.
Hang on.
Knit.
Second.
No, you were supposed to be ready to go first.
Well, I was ready until I got tangled.
Meanwhile, I can say I apologize that I clashed with the tablecloth.
Well, we're all in solids today.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Beth has a gnome in her face. Maybe you could move that gnome a little bit.
Careful.
No, oops. Now I messed it up. No, I meant you do it, E. Sorry. I guess I could just there we go. How's that? There we go.
Yeah.
That's better. Now you have another gnome in your face.
So, what have I been doing this week? The other day, Eve and I dyed some fabric, including Naomi's ill-fated piece. I'll talk about that later. So last week I talked about the book that I bought, the Dynamic book by, I can't remember her name now.
Oh yeah.
And, Kim Hartman or somebody, I think. Anyway, so I experimented with that a little bit. With it, it was the technique they used was daubing the dye onto the fabric, and I don't know if you can see this just a little bit. Yeah, I used purple and yellow and green.
Yeah,
it's
pretty. It's very
and
subtle.
I tried to use some blue, but but the blue was not intense enough, I think, and it kind of faded more. But there are blue flecks in it because they're little blue crumbs that came off the bottle. So there's some blue flecks on here. But anyway, it's very, very subtle, very faint because I didn't, the dye I used was, I had mixed it with water, the regular liquid dye. And so if it had been a little darker, it would have been, the color would have been more intense, I guess. But I like this. It's very, very subtle, very pale. So it would be great. It would make a great, background fabric for some kind of Easter pattern or flowers like they use in the book, whatever. So I'm pretty happy with how it came out. But what even I discovered was that you really need. Because I had some absorbent puppy pads, underneath it because of course it bleeds through the fabric. So you have to have a kind of a good supply of those.
Waterproof place area.
Yeah. So and you wouldn't be able to do more than one on on top of it because it'll bleed through and But this is a piece of 18 count Ada. So I don't know what I'll use it for, but there it is. And then the other thing I did was I had dyed some blue fabric for her, and so I had a little tub, little shoebox that I use that had blue dye in it, and then I had the dye from that daubing thing. I had those little wee yogurt glass jars, so I had. So I had a little thing of purple, a little thing of green, I think. Yeah, green, and then a thing of yellow. And so I just the yellow and the green I just dumped into the blue dye that I had in the shoebox, and I crumpled up this fabric and stuck it in there. And then the purple dye I just splashed in on the lumps of the fabric, and so this was the end result. So it's very nice. Also, it's very it's mostly greenish. Looks sort of an aqua green.
It's pretty.
With little purple, splotches. So it came up very nice. I'm very happy with it. Yeah. So there's this fabric, and this is 28 count Lugana, Lugana, whatever. And so then, since the beginning of this week, the weekend was the end of January, so I had worked on my whip go. I had met my goal for the Piano Cat on Saturday, with 15 days. But so I went ahead and just kept working at it through the 31st, just to get more done, because I don't know when I'm going to get back to this. So I had talked about how I had done these vertical lines that were the music page on there. And so I just did some more on this side of the head, I think, is all I added on. But so I think I'm mostly done with this side of the head of the cat. So I still have to do the body down here of this one color. And actually, I'm probably I'm gonna run out of the thread that they provided, and so but it's theoretically the same as a DMC color. So I have this.
It will be so spotty you won't be able to tell.
It'll be it won't be right up next to each other, so you wouldn't be able to tell. So I had met my January WhipGo goals, and I didn't bring my whip. It doesn't matter. I didn't bring my WhipGo paper out here, but so that was Piano Cat. I think you've seen that before. I have my pile of pictures here. So for February, I talked about last week how peacock was one of the numbers. This was
so pretty.
Yeah, it's and it's funny. I've gotten I posted this because on the WhipGo group. So I posted this because it was one of my WhipGo things, and I've had a lot of people say oh, it's so pretty, it's gonna be great. So I hadn't really even thought about that. I just just plugging away at it. So
I love purples.
Yeah, so I'm doing this lighter blue.
Hold it down a little because the light's shining through.
Yeah. Or
there you go.
Put something behind
it. That's better.
Yeah, because there's just the top of the design. But I'm working on this blue color, and I think
it's so pretty.
All of this is all that I had done. This lower section here. So,
yeah.
But yeah. And so yeah.
So nice.
So I got to the end of the thread on that. So I think I did 2 days on that. And then my other WhipGo thing was this Voyage of Discovery, which it's almost full coverage. But I worked on it. Oh, sorry, hooked on your flower there. Just one day, last night, to the wee hours of the night. But I worked on this top part of the sail here, and really I've gotten almost all the way. It was about a third of the way done, so I've done a lot of that, and some of the cloud stuff around here, around the top. So it was good, and it's funny because I had to put it away because it was getting into the wee hours, and I had to go to bed because of this. Because I gotta go to sleep so I can wake up in the morning. And
she didn't wake up. I had to wake her up.
I know. I slept on my one ear, so I couldn't hear.
That's convenient.
And but anyway, I was thinking, I want to keep going. It's so much fun. I don't know why, because I'm just doing white, just rowing on white. But I just was enjoying it a lot. So, so yeah, I'm almost done with this one sail, and then there's some cloudy stuff around here. So I'm trying to do that, but that's coming along very nicely for only having worked on it one day, basically. And then for Winter Crossstitch Camp, of course, I'm doing gathering berries. I think I don't know if I mentioned it. Maybe I'm thinking of my floss tube thing. That it's the challenge is to do a monochromatic.
Yeah, we talked.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
talked about that.
So so I worked on just the frame of the border of Gathering Berries. So I did one day here, and then the second day, I guess, down here. So that theoretically,
Today's the 4th. We should have 3 days of work.
yeah, but I didn't work on
Today's
this.
the 4th, but it's.
I didn't work
it's
on
in the
this every
morning.
day. I worked on.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's not an everyday thing. That's
No.
just finish it by the end of
Right.
February.
Right. Yeah.
I
For
see.
Winter Crossstitch Camp, yeah, it's just to try to finish by the end of February.
I see.
And then this, which is not part of any challenges, and I've got a mess going on here. Let me pull this. Is just the very beginning of the February rabbit. I just got
She
just the very
started
beginning
it.
of the heart.
She started it sitting here
a
at
few
this
minutes
table.
ago. Yeah. So I'm working on just the very corner little
Let me see that.
heart.
So cute.
So yeah, and I'm doing this. All of those were basically 2/2, either except for the peacock, which is 2/1 because it's Ada. But the others are 2/2 on Monaco 28 count Monaco Lugana, and this is the 32 count Murano Carré that I got at Hobby Lobby, and this is one silk thread.
I was gonna say it's
Over
a
two.
silk, huh?
Yeah.
And it's wound very tight. Does it get very wrinkly? Yeah, I can see the
Yeah, but once you stitch with it,
It
you
stretches out.
can't see it.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know that.
Yeah,
Once it's
oh.
in the cloth, but
Yeah.
I mean, does it tangle? Is what I'm saying.
Oh, not
because of the twist in it.
No, because
It's
you know
pretty tightly twisted.
when I used it for the first time when I did the January one this summer, I didn't heed people's advice and cut the thread lengths short, and I had trouble with it tangling, and so when I did there was 2 colors on that one, and I think about halfway through I cut the length shorter. And then I didn't have so much trouble. Yeah. So.
Yeah. It's pretty.
Yeah.
It feels different too.
So.
Stuck to my knife.
I know. I have my Stitcher's lotion.
Yeah.
Thing
Handy.
that I had to use, and I was just thinking when I was pulling threads, I was like, I need to use more of that because my hands are so. But I think that is it. I just been stitching like crazy. Except for the dyeing fabric, yeah.
All right. Shall I go next, Steve? Yeah. Oh, I need some of that.
Thank you.
Pass it over.
Apricot and honey, but it's gonna clash with my raspberry. Whatchamacallit?
It's okay.
What?
It's not vanilla.
I have a bottle of that I just used before
It doesn't smell very strong anyway. Oops.
we came here, and it's like a different flavor, raspberry something or other.
It doesn't smell very strong at all.
I can't smell anyway. My nose is broken.
Sorry. Excuse us for a lotion break.
I was.
Oh, that feels good.
We had
It's so dry.
some milk that was kind of past its like it says you best if used by
Yeah.
whatever, so you can usually go about a week or so,
Right.
and so this was pushing it, this milk, and I was like, I can't really tell. It's like if I could kind of taste whether
Yeah.
whether it's bad or not, but I didn't want to pour it in my bowl in my
I
cereal
did that
bowl
the other
'cause I
day.
thought-
I didn't even check the date. I didn't even think about it. And I poured it in my cereal bowl, put 1 spoon in my mouth, and was like, just let it run out.
And it
of my
it
mouth.
makes me so mad because, like, when you ruin a whole bowl, like you're looking forward to this bowl of cereal, it's something really good, like cinnamon Chex or, whatever. And so I had a bowl full of multigrain Cheerios, and I was like,
Oh, sad.
I don't know if I want to pour this in there because I don't know if it's going to be any good because I can't. It doesn't smell bad, but I can't tell.
You never know. Okay, so
Yeah.
my most significant thing this week, of course, I finished it, but I have not blocked it yet, and I'll tell you why. But it's all the ends are sewn in. It needs blocking, which will cure the roll at the bottom. It should have a slight roll like this, but it's kind of rolling a little bit more. And the ribs will come out more pronounced. And once I block it, then I'm going to sew bias tape along this. I bought hem tape. I didn't buy bias tape. I stood for a long time in Joann's. And I didn't bring it with me to show you, but I bought a hem tape to go on the inside here. That'll just give it some stability. And then after it's blocked, also I'm going to add the zipper, which I did go and buy. And I've been studying the technique for putting that in.
On the video, you can't really see what a really beautiful blue that is.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, it's a nice. It's a Cascade 220 superwash 100% merino wool. So that's what that is. So that's my accomplishment for the week. And then the other accomplishment I have here. Hold on, let me. This. Oh. Ready? It's time to cover Beth up. It's not done, but I brought it because as soon as I finish it, I'm going to mail it. So, and I'll do pictures. But here is Hannah's quilt in its current state. Hold on. Sorry. Okay. This is the top. I always put a marker in where the top left of it.
Oh, that's heavy.
It's very heavy. It's flannel front and back. Look at
Here's
it.
the back.
Yeah, there's the yellow back, which is also flannel.
It's really pretty.
And I have all the vertical stitching done, which I'm doing each of the 5-inch blocks. I'm doing on either side. The width of it is just the width of my walking foot, so I can tell. The edges are a little wonky because I have to use a ruler to guide me. I didn't want to put chalk in the flannel. I was worried that chalk lines would not erase. And then I have a couple of I have 3, I think, of the horizontal ones, so you can see a full square is quilted here, what it'll be like. Are you warm, Beth?
Yeah.
I wish I'd tried something this simple.
Okay. So that's the quilt. I'm
very nice and heavy, like
yes, that's what she wants. On the back, I have to turn this over a little bit. On the back, I pieced this out of yardage, and I'm very proud that the center seam here is almost identical. It's actually just maybe half an inch off of the center seam of the top, which I was very stressed about. The very first time I pinned it, I turned it over, and like I talked about a couple weeks ago, that center seam was like this. So I taped it down, and I worked very hard to put the top on in the right spot and pinned it very carefully to make sure that the center seam on the back was straight, because I was really freaking out about that. And you can't even see it now because it's hidden by the stitching. So, because one of the seams of the quilting goes basically straight down that center seam, which made me very happy. So that is my current. That's what I work on. I did basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the horizontal seams last night, and I was like, I mean, not seams, but quilting. I was like, I cannot. So the other thing I'm doing is my current whip is this. Here's the front side. Not that it matters. This is Rachel's shawl coming along, and you get discouraged because it takes a while. It's a 16-row repeat, and it's a variegated yarn, right? And I'm like, when am I going to get to this light color? But if you hold the end up to where I am now, you can really see that it's actually really transitioning already. And you can see the difference between the darkest spot at the end here. And then this will be the lightest, and then it'll go, the lightest will be the widest part. So I had asked Rachel when I started, I'm like, do you want more dark or more light? Because that's how it'll be, because you start the dark on the little end. So anyway, my ball is getting smaller. So this is my current work. Like I said, it's 16 row repeat. I'm about halfway through the repeats I need to do. So I'm working on that. That's to replace the blue sweater. And then I went ahead and started this. Remember that little baby sweater that I was going to work on? Mm-hmm. I started it because you can do a gauge swatch. Not that for a newborn, 3-month, whatever size, you need that much of a swatch, because it'll just be what it is, and it'll fit the baby or it won't, and you don't know what size the baby's going to be. So, but look, this is the sleeve. Isn't it cute? It's not the whole sleeve. It's not the whole length. I'm about 10 rows out, but it's a really, actually the elephant toy, the toy elephant marl. I don't know if you can see it here, but I'll take a good photo. It really shows up in the look. See how cute. Yeah. You see it? The color difference?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's cute. So you start on the sleeve and you go. It's very complicated, actually, but this is I can't stand to do anything else anymore. I'm going to do something different knit, because I have to do that. I realize I'm trying to embrace the kind of artisan that I am, and that is that I can't really spend a ton of time on any one thing. And I get very, like, I can't do another row of this. I'm going to poke my eyes out. So I find something else to do with myself. And then...
Unlike me, I could basically just go forever on one project.
Really? I cannot. I mean, the quilt...
I have too many projects to do that.
The more I see the end, the finish line, like with the sleeves, those went very fast, because the body was what killed me, because it was so many stitches to do one round. And by the time I got around, I'm like, oh, I must have done something significant. Here's the starting stitch marker again. But no, it was this much more in the sweater. And you're trying to do, 30 inches or whatever. And it gets very hard for me. So sweaters are hard. But I thought, the first sweater I made was bulky yarn. And it went fast. I was like, this is cool. But that's much smaller. And
I watched somebody's number one floss tube number one, and so she was doing a parade of things that she finished, and then all of her whips, and I guess somewhere along the line, pretty early on, she had stitched years ago when she was little, and then she got back into it not too long ago. But she did like all these. They're like full coverage pieces, and she found the Heaven and Earth Designs website, and so everything she was holding up, it's like, oh my god, it's like all this, like, and they're pretty good sized pieces, and they're just like full coverage, and they're very pixelated.
I guess I have trouble.
So certain kind of people can really do that,
and I'm not a monogamous, as they call it, monogamous knitter, where you just start a project, that's what you work on every day until it's finished. I can't. I haven't been able. There's been very few things I've been able to do like that. Yeah. I guess there was a couple of sweaters of Hannah's that I made that were short sleeve, small sweaters that went very fast because I liked the yarn. Yeah. Actually, that yarn, it was a Baracco yarn. I can't remember the name of the particular yarn, but it's a rayon cotton blend. And as soon as you knit a little swatch like this, you fall in love with it, because it has this drape that's just it just is like silky, and it's just this beautiful yarn. And so I was like, whoa. And I made it, and the sweater was just 2 pieces. It wasn't sleeves. It was just, because it was a little cap sleeve. So you just did the shaping here and sewed the seam here, and it was done. So that sweater went very fast. And then I used that same yarn to make a regular sweater with short sleeves. And that went fast, because the yarn was, I can't describe it. The yarn was fast, and it was she's a little girl, and smaller circumference, and it just. But those are the only 2 projects where I really felt like, I want to finish this kind of thing. Everything else, I want to finish it, of course, but some of it is so. Okay, that's the problem with that sweater. It was 6 knit, 1 purl, 6 knit, 1 purl. And supposedly that's supposed to keep the knitter more engaged. But actually, when I have those sweaters that I talked about are just plain stockinette, which is in the round, you're just knitting the whole time. So you're just knitting, and you can watch TV, you can do whatever, and you know, you can knit and knit and knit and knit. You don't have to, oh gosh, I missed that purl. Oh, I missed another one. Or, you know, like this shawl is fun. And I was thinking about it, I should know this pattern by now. It's an 8-stitch pattern. But you can see that there's diamonds, right? And so every row you shorten the purls or the stitches by whatever. But then you have to go backwards. So you have to think backwards. The knits world, are now a different symbol on the so it's not in the round, and it's back and forth, and you have to kind of know where you are. And this yarn is very splitty because it's four small strands of tiny yarn. It's not even twisted. It's just flat like this. So this is very splitty yarn, so you have to pay very close attention. So, and then I have the chart that I'm following because I need to pay attention to where I am. And so that is like I have to sit down with my iPad and focused. So that takes me longer. Yeah. And it fatigues me faster. So I think that's part of why projects like this I struggle with, you know. Yeah. Whereas like something that's just like a sock, although I've been struggling with socks lately, but just straight, you know, around stitching is one thing for me, and that kind of thing goes very fast. But so that's why so what I've found is I give myself permission now. I'm finally learning without guilt to be like, I need a break from you, and so so that's why this actually I started. This is my Winter Crossstitch Camp, my little bunny, and I worked on it for 3 days. Today's the 4th day, but look, little bunny, little bun is coming. And I'm doing it one cross stitch at a time. I'm not doing any forward and back because it's a variegated yarn, and so I didn't want to mess that up. So I just I started here because it's close to the center and just went around. I don't know. But, so that's going well. So that's what I'm working on.
In your
right
fancy
now.
bag.
In my fancy pretty bag.
From the attic.
From the attic. So that's that. And then Beth dyed this fabric for me. And we're having a current argument about it. Yeah, it's so pretty. This is for this project that I bought back in Albuquerque when we went in October. So beautiful.
What's it called?
8 Tiny Reindeer. Oh. Yeah. So it's got Santa Claus and all the reindeer, and then the trees at the bottom.
It's a capybara design.
Yeah. So what did I do with the paper? Oh, here it is. So it says the stitch count is 119 wide by 244 high, and at 14 /28 count Ada, it says 8.5 by 17 3/8. So that's the inches. The stitching width.
But the inches on this is 15 by 18.
Right. So, which means it's going to be very close to the top and bottom. Yeah. I was looking at this and thinking I could shorten the
space in between there
a little bit. I thought I could add a row here of snow and take off this bottom row of snow and move everybody up. And the same thing here. I could add a row of snow and take that one off, or I could take several of these off. Yeah. I don't know. So, and depending I don't know how else. Yeah. And depending on how I want to mount it.
Yeah, how you want to finish it. Yeah. See, because this has, a little gap there, and that could go all the way.
But this looks like it was custom framed too. Like I really like the idea of taking, I don't know how much of the fabric and actually fraying it and having the ends frayed around the side and mounting it that way. I've never done anything like that, but I have that picture in my mind. That might look neat. And then framing, putting that on a board and then, having an even bigger frame. Yeah. And that would allow me to stitch right up to the edges.
Yeah, that's true. Because at 17 3/8 inches. That's
less than a half. That's less than a quarter inch on each, or around a quarter inch on each side, on top and bottom, which kind of sucks. So maybe I need something bigger actually, to be safer. Because it's also going to be difficult to actually stitch way down there.
Yeah. It's
Right?
gonna, and you have to account for any fraying that goes on.
It's already frayed here.
Yeah.
And it won't stay in the hoop.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
maybe
so
I need to.
I have like a larger piece of 28 count even weave kind of thing. So
Maybe I need that because
yeah.
this
Just to
is
be
beautiful.
safe.
You could
Yeah.
have this because
Oh, you can take it.
yeah. But I think I might have another Santa. I might have another Christmas one.
I think you bought another Christmas one.
I don't remember. But maybe one of those Native American designs would look good on here too. I don't know.
You'll see what I accidentally made that I think will look good on those Native American designs.
So anyway, so this is my ill-fated fabric, but so I thought after I finished the bun, I could work on this for my 30 minutes a day for I Love to Stitch. But now I can't because I don't have any fabric. I could put this little. I could put the little. Oh, sorry. I could put the little bonus Rudolph on this fabric.
I was gonna
Are
say
they both 28 count?
the fabric. Yeah. I was gonna say
Because this comes with a little Rudolph here, so I could make Rudolph on that fabric, on this fabric.
I have a bunch of dyed fabric. I don't know if I have that color though. In a larger size.
I kind of want the
but-
blue. I really like
Yeah.
the way this looks on the samples done on
Yeah.
blue.
Yeah.
But I guess you can buy it like that, right? But so
Yeah.
anyway, so that's but it's a beautiful dye job. It's really pretty.
Yeah.
So
You could just go to the attic and find blue fabric.
I know, but I wanted custom dye.
Well, like I said, I have lots of fabric, so we can look at what I have that hasn't been dyed.
Shop at Beth's stash.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's me. That's all. That's all I've been doing. Oh, I was going to tell you why I haven't blocked that sweater, even though I finished it. Oh, and I tried it on him, and it fits. Everything looks real good. I wove in all the ends. Everything's ready to go. The reason I have not blocked it is because I cannot think or haven't taken advantage of a time when I can block it and keep it safe from
cats.
the cats. Because Hobbs loves that sweater, and every time he comes around, he goes, he wants to bite it.
Is that
And
the same one that loves the quilt?
Yes. Yeah, and just in stories, I'm going to show you Hobbs in my quilt. But something is uneven here. Oh,
Is that
there's a mat.
the cutting?
Yeah,
Yeah,
my
the cutting.
cutting
mat.
mat. I warned Beth, but I didn't warn you.
My coat is so
I-
crooked.
I was sewing this morning and I was
okay.
just threw the tablecloth over it.
That's okay. So I have to, because obviously once you wash it, you have to block it out, right?
It has to stay
and it has
there
to stay
till
there
it
overnight.
dries.
So I thought I could put it in Eli's room, but he's been home a couple nights this week,
yeah.
and then I have to make sure I block the cats out for the night, and I know it's nice because he has a fan in there. I'll turn on the fan on high and let it dry and stuff like that, but. And it's machine washable, but I'm not gonna put it in the washer yet. So anyway, I that's why I have not blocked that yet, and I'm like, it's like this much from being done, and I have to wrestle the zipper. And now the way Stacey Perry said to do it, who's the designer of this sweater, is a very interesting way where you actually create yarn stitches on the sweater with this little tool. I actually have the tool. I bought it 2 years ago when I bought the sweater stuff. And you poke it through the zipper tape and you pull. Basically, you make yarn V's along the side of the zipper, and then you basically sew it in the way you would like with a mattress stitch, and that keeps it, and it lines it up with the stitches very well, and so it keeps it in there. But another lady on Instagram, I put hashtag learn to knit a men's sweater, which is the name of this pattern. And there was another woman in there, and she said that she sewed it in with her machine. And I was like, tell me how you did that. and she did, but I don't know. It sounds too, you can't take it out. You know what I mean? Like if you don't like the way it looks or it doesn't work well,
Mm-hmm.
You
If
can't
you
take
make a
it out.
mistake or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, I don't think I'm going to do that after all this. And say to Eli, sorry, I screwed it up at the last minute. So I'm going to put it in by hand the way Stacey Perry, Very Pink Knits, instructs, and go from there. And it'll be a learning experience. And maybe I'll do the way my my other online mentor, Roxanne Richardson. Maybe I'll just make 2 swatches and try sewing it. So don't just make a practice to see what it's like.
Yeah.
Hannah actually likes the make of this sweater, and she's like, I want one. I'm like, I don't know.
You're getting a quilt.
She's getting a quilt, but also a violin bag.
Yeah.
She asked me to make her a violin bag, and I went searching. So then I got in on this thing of whether you should actually use actual silk or synthetic fibers, because the actual silk is a natural fiber. And I mean, if you don't think that silk is treated with chemicals, you're wrong. I'm sure that like commercially made silk is not pure and holy like something that's hand spun and hand woven. That's going to be different, I think, than a commercially made silk that I can buy. But anyway, they're saying that silk as a natural fiber allows the humidity and everything to breathe, and it allows it to keep the violin healthy, which is why you put a bag on it. But I told Hannah I found a really beautiful polyester, which I didn't bring. I should have brought. That I'm going to make the bag out of, my prototype that I'm thinking. And because several I've seen, so a violin, has a neck, and then it's got a shoulder bouts, and then a little waist, and then it's got the lower bouts. And there's some very expensive bags I've seen on Etsy that are shaped like that. They have a narrow neck and then a bag that comes down like this, and then there's a drawstring at the bottom. But I'm like, every violin case I've seen, it's pretty tight. The violin fits in there pretty tight, and if you have that gather down there, how do you put? So my idea is to have basically a straight bag and then a drawstring at the top that you could wrap around the neck if you wanted, but to keep it kind of bagged up. And so then you have more room in the case up at the scroll to have the gather, I think. But I'm going to make a couple prototypes. I bought some muslin to do it, and I have a violin at home that I can try. So that's my ideas. And I'm going to make a boxed bottom so that it doesn't, so that you don't have a lot of extra corner fabric.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It would be more, and I don't know how to make a round boxed bottom. That's one thing I would kind of actually like for the box to be up by the hips of the violin rather than at the bottom, because you won't have any seams down there. And I'm thinking French seams would be better than regular seams.
Yeah.
As long as I can make them nice and small.
Yeah.
So
you can.
So I'm toying with all these ideas, and I said if I make it and it's good and you like it, I could put some on the Etsy shop, and you could tell all your friends. So so that's the other up here in my never-ending line of projects. And I have some chenille yarn, actually. I think that would make a good drawstring. And I bought some beautiful little charms. I should have brought it all. I didn't bring it. I'll bring it next week. Some beautiful little, kind of like, they look like Lord of the Rings.
So is she wanting
tree
a new violin case that doesn't ruin her clothes?
clothes. No, not the case. This would go inside the case. This would go inside the case. But anyway, that's me.
Okay.
So your turny.
So right now, I'm working on Rabbits at the Cafe, which is, fortunately, one of my whip goes that was called for February because I was going to start it this month anyway, and I was like, cool, that worked. However, and I'll put pictures here, I started it on a pink fabric last week, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I put in a lot of the bunny, a lot. I used like 2 threads worth. And I was like, I just cannot see that. And the cute part of this pattern is these bunnies, right?
And there's a lot of white, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of white. And I was like, because like on Peep, I you know, he was hard to see, but I just outlined him.
Yeah.
These are not outlineable, like his little feet here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm going to put up a picture of what that looked like, and I was like, that is just not going to work. And then I'm also going to put a picture up of how much I had gotten done before I realized this morning I had left off a whole row on top. And I would have just put that in, but when I was looking at it, I was like, something is wrong here. And there's 2 little stitches here. I missed these 2 little stitches. And so this whole round thing was...
What is it we always say? It only takes 1 stitch.
Well, in this case, it was 2. But the rabbit is in the right place. So I just... and I had started a new thread with the rabbit, so I was able to just pull this out, and I'm doing it again. But you can see it from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any fabric in my stash that I liked for this project. I put the colors, because this has a very light color palette. Oh, you can't see this. I'll put that on the fabric so you can see. But it has a very, very light color palette, and I was like,
a lot of pastels.
It's not gonna. It's just you're not gonna be able to see anything of it. So I said I need a fabric, and I had a couple of darker fabrics, but one was mustard Murano Corée.
Yeah.
I don't want mustard for my Easter pattern. So I said, Beth, let's dye some fabrics. So this is what I dyed. This is fabric that was sent to us by...
is that daubing technique? Yeah.
Yeah,
it is,
this is the one that I did with that daubing technique. It's folded. I folded it.
That's really pretty.
Yeah.
This was some of the fabric that was given to us by...
By one of our viewers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's 14 count. Other than that, I don't know anything about it. But the other fabrics, yeah. So, oops. Okay, so I love this one.
Wow.
I have no idea what I need a giant yellow piece of fabric for. It's yellow and green.
What would you call that? Chartreuse or something like that?
Yeah.
It's yellow
kinda,
and green, but
That's very springy.
it's very bright.
That's pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, and the nice thing about having a large piece like that is that you
I can cut it down.
Yeah.
You know what that would look good with is all those like bugs and things. that
except
pattern.
I have all.
I know, but
I
I'm just
have
saying,
all the fabrics
if
dyed
you
for
wanted
that.
to do it again, or do
Yeah.
something like it.
So this one came out very much like that first one I showed you, but it's more purple.
That's pretty.
Yeah.
It's got some big blue.
Looks almost tight.
And is that one that you scrunched up, or is that
Yeah, this is the only one I did the daubing on, except for this
really
one.
pretty.
So,
There's a whole story about it.
Yeah. This one, which I think might be good for those Southwest colors.
Oh, ooh.
Okay, so this one was not this color. When I first dyed it, it came out this
It was a sort of army
nasty green color with blobs of stuff because it was different colors, right? And I had meant to have, I don't remember what I meant to do, but it turned brown. I mean, this brownish green color. I mean, it was
a
ugly.
very army green
And
color,
I let it dry a little bit, and I'm like, I hate that. I'll put some red on it. And so I put some red on it, and I put it in the water so that they would, because I was daubing red on it, and it just looked terrible. And I said, I'm just going to I'll put it in the water. And it was basically clear
You could
water.
use it for like a Halloween one, like a zombie.
that fabric, I was just like, ugh. Ugh. But when I put it in the water, and it was clear water, it just dyed the whole thing this color. So it is this weird color that I have no idea how I made it. But then when I was looking at it, I was like, because it's not solid. It looks solid, when I'm showing it to you, but it's got some areas that are not. But
Let me see it.
Because you just kept adding stuff to it, and I'm like, it's getting worse. It's getting worse. but it looks it's a very nice kind of purpley reddy
Earthy tones.
Yeah.
But I was thinking I would lay
reminds
the
me of-
fabrics for that thing on those little the pots are very small, and I think you remember how I wanted to do them all together. I think this might be big enough.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to add that up because
Yeah.
it's a whole bunch of patterns. So I'm going to have to add and put room for, to see how I want to do that.
I think that would be cool because it kind of is like
It's a
an
kind of a
adobe,
terracotta,
Yeah.
red dirt kind of.
So
Ish.
then this one,
That's neat.
it was this light color to begin with right here.
Uh-huh.
These are all fabrics that were donated to us by the
Yeah.
viewer. Okay. So I picked it up. I had blue from doing one of these things on my glove, and when I picked it up, it already had a little spot of blue, and I didn't realize my hands had this
blue
blue.
dye.
And I picked it up, and I was like, oh. And then I said, oh, look, I'm dyeing with my dirty hands. So I put a little bit more blue on my hands.
That
and
is cool.
That's how I did this one.
That is really
Yeah,
neat.
it came
I
out
like
really
that.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to
Yeah,
see.
hold it below the window because
Yeah.
the window's what's killing it.
Yeah,
Is it-
down it looks really pretty.
Yeah, you can see
Yeah,
it.
I love it. I'm going to have to dye like that again.
That is really fun.
I just had, like, you know how it has little, because it beads up on your
Yeah.
glove?
That's really cool.
I was like, okay, I like that. That's coming out cool. And this fabric was kind of a,
I have a tan.
it was, yeah, the original color was kind of
Like a beige tan, the
ecru, but darker.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. Anyway, it wasn't white. And I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah, hold it.
it was in the blue dye that I used. She stuck it in the blue because it came out kind of greenish.
Uh-huh.
But
That's
it was
pretty.
that blue dye that I had used for your fabric.
Yeah, that is really nice.
Yeah, she just like tied it in a
I should have
knot,
come
basically.
for dyeing day. I couldn't come.
I tied it in a knot, and then I put it in the yellow for a long time, and then I said, Beth, put this in that blue, and that's what because I tied it in a different way.
That's very cool.
So that's how that came out. So that's the dyed fabric. But I had another finish.
You
Mary
finally
Slytherin.
finished it. Very nice.
Yeah, Mary Slytherin, who gave me so much trouble that after I started him in May, I didn't want to work on him. But it's done. So now I have Mary Ravenclaw and Mary
Hufflepuff?
Hufflepuff. Yeah, left to do. I probably will not even attempt those. I don't think these are on WhipGo at all until like maybe Mania or something, because technically this is a sub finish rather than a finish, because a finish is all four of them, right?
Ah, it's a partial.
So, one of the set. This is another one of the set.
Right.
So, yeah. And then I didn't work on Itty Bitty Kitty Committee because I didn't want to. Because the stuff that was called was the
Oh, no.
Cats at the Cafe, and I wanted to work on that.
You mean bunnies?
Bunny.
Cafe.
Bunnies at the Cafe.
I was like, cats at the cafe. That's new.
And I don't need to cover up Beth. I just knocked something down. But
No telling.
I worked some more on this, but it's in timeout because
So,
I was almost done with the second quarter of it, so it would have been half done. And I don't like my quilting at all. I should have chosen a different pattern for quilting than I did.
The only way you learn that is by messing up a quilt.
Yeah, well, but it's my son, and he just wants me to finish it. So so I worked on that, but I was almost done with that second quarter, and I ran out of bobbin thread, and I had done like a couple more rows before I realized it, and I was like, ugh!
I hate that. You're like, oh, you're like,
I wasted so much
focused.
time.
And then you look behind it, and there's
No, I looked because I had turned it a couple times, and I was like, why is this big thread here? Oh!
Like, I'm just poking holes in the fabric, tenderizing your quilt.
So, I worked. I stopped
It's your
working on that.
equivalent of pulling a needle through and realizing the thread fell off
pull
the
the
needle.
thread off, yeah. Well, that always happens to me because, like, somehow I'll get my hand,
It'll hook on your fingers.
get
Yeah.
the thread around my fingers,
Especially
or
when your
something.
hands are dry. Yeah.
And they're just like it's just the looped around it, and I go to pull my hand out, and like there goes the thread.
Yeah. So,
Especially when it's little.
this is the other project that's called for this month, Calico Cats. And as you recall,
Here goes the dog. The dog alarm's about to go
yeah,
off.
as you recall, I had these two panels,
Come here, Rogue.
these
Come
two blocks
Come here.
finished. Come here, baby.
It's a good girl. Come here. You don't have to bark. You don't have to bark.
And I fixed them.
Yay.
They have the right.
They did a head transplant.
Yeah. No, it was just an ear transplant. So now the backgrounds are correct. And now I have to start on the, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20 cats total. I have 2. So I have 18 more cats. But yesterday I worked on it some, and I cut out all the kitties.
Yay.
So all the kitty parts are cut out, and they are. Now I need to work on the background fabric that's going to go with them, and I'm doing this gray, and it has these beautiful little flecks of gold in it.
Ooh, that's pretty.
Yeah, and I think next to these.
Can I see the quilt pattern page? What do you mean background? Oh, so they're all going to be on
Instead
this.
of the white.
Oh, I see.
So even the darkest looks really good with it.
Yeah.
And then the lighter ones show up really well against it too. So I didn't technically need to do the different color cats, because the reason that she did them is because most charm packs and stuff come with some fabrics that are really light.
Oh, I see. Here in the corners, here and here, there's a cat with the dark background.
Yeah.
I see.
Because a lot of charm packs come with fabrics that are really light, and they wouldn't have shown up on that white. My solution wouldn't have been make 2 that are darker, dark background like that. My solution would have been not use white as the background. But that's me. So I did, I guess technically 2 days work on it, because I cut yesterday and I sewed the ears on correctly this morning. So I need to cut out the backgrounds, and then I'm ready to start sewing cats. Now these cats, these 2 that I finished, where did I put them?
You want my stripology ruler for those 5-inch squares? Makes it so easy.
What 5-inch squares?
Don't you have to make 5-inch squares for the background, out of that background fabric?
A couple of them, but most are, so there's strips.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, you can borrow my ruler anytime.
Well, I need it for the jacket. So these, other than putting the ears on wrong,
For the bordello jacket.
The bordello.
other than putting the ears on wrong, these sewed up very easy, because these 2 are just,
It's just a 4-patch.
yeah, this is just a 4-patch with a little snowball corner. right?
Yeah.
And then this is an empty square. And this one, so the only real piecing you do is right here.
Yeah.
On the ears. And then, so the cats should sew up pretty quickly. The pattern says to save.
And then you make those, what are those, flying geese?
Yeah, but the pattern says to save these little triangles that you cut off from snowballing, but they're little. I'm like, how can that be that?
I don't know. I've never done flying geese.
I guess these are wonky geese too. They're not perfect geese. So
Maybe
if they're not right, that's okay. But they're little. It says save these for the flying geese, and they're little.
Oh no, that'll be fine.
So
that'll be fine. Just
anyway,
trust them. They've been doing it a long time.
That's what she said. Natalie designed this for Missouri Star.
They've been doing it a long time.
And
it's like a recipe. If they tell you to save a teaspoonful of something or other,
so I saw on Missouri Star's Facebook group this morning, somebody posted, you guys be safe out there. This morning I slid into a craft store. And I said, it's cold here. It's 45 degrees. I might have to go into one to stay warm. But so then the other thing is for Winter Crossstitch Camp, I'm working on spring berries. This berry that says spring has sprung for Winter Crossstitch Camp, and also the berry sal that is being done by Helen D. You can work on any berry. Doesn't have to be. She's doing these seasonal berries, and there's some sales going on the seasonal berries, and somebody on Etsy is putting together packs for the wool that goes on top of them. I might buy some of those, but I'm not sure that I want to do all the seasonal berries, although they're all pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I have the Christmas berry one and the cat berry one, and I saw a dog berry one when I was over at the attic, which might have to go in my stash. So this is how far I've gotten. Oh, you can't see it. I will take a picture. It's like invisible, but in person it's very visible. This is
that's beautiful fabric. What kind of fabric?
32 count Morano Cuore in ice from Hobby Lobby.
Can I see it?
And I'm using frog's legs. It's
oh, that's pretty fabric.
It's beautiful. It's a very, very grayish blue, a bluish gray. And Frog's Legs is a Classic Colorworks.
I used ice color for the January Rabbit, and I don't remember it being that light. Mine seemed like it was bluer, but
oh, you can see it there.
yeah. I have to look at it.
I remembered it being bluer too, but this is ice.
It doesn't look very blue to me. It looks,
it doesn't look blue at all.
It looked bluer in the package.
It looks like
gray.
Yeah.
But the called for is French lace linen. I don't want to work on linen. French lace linen from Witchell. And when I was at Hobby Lobby, not Hobby Lobby, the attic, when I picked this up, I looked through their the Witchell fabric that they had, and I did not see that color. And I might have bought it had I seen it. Yeah, had I seen it there. Even though I'm not really wanting to work on linen.
Yeah, I find I
linen is
very floppy.
Well, it can be uneven, and
yeah, that's true.
And
the schlubs.
What's her name from Hands On Design? Kathy, is that her name?
Kathy Haberman.
Yeah, she was talking about not all linens are the same. She was saying because she said some of them the stitching is very off. I mean, the threads are very off, and so she had stitched, she doing a pattern which I actually love. It's it's called 17 or the 17th, but it's ostensibly a St. Patrick's Day pattern, but it is not, leprechauns and stuff like that, and it's kind of these muted colors. I absolutely love the fabric that she did it on, and she was talking about this linen, and she said, different brands can have that discrepancy in the linen more than others.
Yeah.
And so she said, when you get your linen, she said you need to do a little count to see if it's the same inches this way and the same inches that way, and then decide if that's an appropriate thing. She said if it's not a square, it doesn't matter. If it's, going to be finished, however, it's not going to be that big a deal. But since hers is that square on top, and then the strip that's supposed to go around, to make this square, she said if it's not square, it won't work.
Yeah.
And that's why she was talking about it. And
well, that little bunny I'm doing is on linen, and some of the threads are fat, some are skinny, and so your all your crosses look a little.
Yeah. And
if you get a cross, it looks like this instead of straight on, because it.
And
I think also with linen, a lot of times you have to worry about people talk about starting on a thread that's that's on top rather than underneath or whatever. So because depending on where you stitch, your thread can fall pull underneath the.
Yeah, I've noticed that actually. I just noticed that.
So it can be very frustrating that way.
Yeah, so I have so many problems seeing the smaller holes and all that I'm not attracted. I have some linen that I bought for a project, and I haven't wanted to work with it yet because I'm still last night I was like, where are those holes? It was the worst night before last, because on the spring, once I finished the first S, I had to really count to get to where I wanted to start the P, and I counted it, and then just to be sure I counted it again. I put the needle in and put half a stitch, counted it again.
There have been times when I've done that. It's like, was that sign that I told that you have in your craft room?
Measure twice, cuss once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to. I didn't want to have to deal with that. Yeah. So I was considering it, but I love the fabric that design is on, the hands-on design. I love a lot of her patterns, and I really like that one. But I've kind of tried to tell myself, stop buying patterns. Stop it.
Famous last words.
Because I have so many patterns that I love that I haven't even started working on, and I have projects that I need to do here that for other reasons that I need to work on. Like I have all these quilts that I have the jacket, and so when you buy a new pattern, you're like, I want to start it. I want to start it. And so
that's why I have a notebook like this.
Yes, but I don't want to put it in a box. I want to do it, And
I just realized, Eve, you're very off camera. We should scoot this way more.
Who? Oh.
Eve is there.
Okay.
That's better.
Okay.
Happy for the video.
So I would rather have them in this stage in a project bag with some thread than in a box where you forget you have it.
Yeah.
And so you don't start it. Something that you loved enough to spend money on. I download free patterns when I hear about them. I have a couple on my phone that I haven't printed out or upload. I upload free patterns. I upload them to my OneDrive almost right away because I may not want to work on them right then, but a lot of them are smaller and good for,
Yeah.
little things that you want to do. Anyway, so I was thinking about some of the stuff that I wanted to work on, and I bought some things at the. I bought fabric. It's not for a quilt. So it's for project bags. So I have this really cute. They had a different fabric to go with this, and it had a whole bunch of little horseshoes and stuff, and it was very busy. And I picked up both, and I had them laying there, and I said, yeah, no, I'm not buying that. And I got this one instead. And I think they go so cute together.
Oh, yeah. You
Yeah.
probably can't see on camera. The green has like lines in it.
Yeah.
Green on green lines. It's really pretty.
And then
That's cute.
when I make a bag of it, I'll show it to you. And then this one, Scottish, Irish and all that plaid is what I think of. So I just love this. And it's going with this
That's
little
cute.
shamrock fabric.
That's very cute.
Yeah. And so I bought a yard of each because I still want to make that other kind of pattern that I bought all the saguaro fabric for.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to try to see about doing some of those because I do have zippers. So I have those, and I need to take time and do those things because I really I love making project bags and stuff like that. That's kind of how come we started with this Etsy site. I can't keep making quilts. How many quilts do we need? I don't know. One more. My snowman quilt.
I have a flannel gnome quilt that I bought panels for. I've almost forgotten about it.
See, that's what I mean. You love
That's
it.
for me.
You love it,
Yeah.
and you buy it because you love it and you want to work on it. And while you may remember that pattern and go back to it, I'm trying to tell myself if I see a pattern that I love, that's one thing. But if I think about it again later and go look at it and put it aside, and then if I'm still thinking about it, okay, then it's something I might do right away or work on or whatever. And like I said, I'd rather have it in this stage than in a box somewhere, because in this stage you'll remember you have it. And
Right. But then sometimes you just wind up buying so many that.
Mm-hmm.
My whole thing is once I buy the yarn, then I get really like. Like I have a bunch of patterns that I've purchased. Like I have, Arne and Carlos came out with 4 beautiful. Over the years, they release one every year, but now they have 4 colorwork stockings that are just gorgeous. And so I bought all 4 of them and put them in here and thought, one day maybe I'll make us all new stockings. And maybe I won't, but I have the pattern in case, so I won't lose it, kind of thing.
yeah, and there's some smaller patterns. Like I bought the Stitching with the Housewives snowman patterns that they put out in January. I bought 2 of those because I love snowmen.
Yeah.
But I'm too stressed about everything that I have to do to even enjoy, kitting it up. And
even I were just talking about that this morning. I was like,
me and you?
yeah.
Oh.
I'm telling them.
Okay.
Even I'm talking about it this morning. That it was like we we're so stressed about these projects that we have put upon ourselves. It's not like any boss is saying, get this quilt done by, which is another reason why I hesitate to really like want to do a business out of anything like knitting or anything like that, because I don't want it to be like that. But I'm like, we're putting all this stress upon ourselves. Like, I gotta get this finished. When you're making it for someone else, that adds a bit of stress. But when you're making it for yourself, I'm like,
well, I thought
why am I so
Whipco
stressed
would
about
make
it?
me
Feel better.
would make me concentrate on doing something and finishing it or whatever. But January, the projects were both big, and that was my fault. I put them on there,
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? Whipco police aren't going to come get me if I don't finish those two things. It's my own personal gratification, and looking at it and going, I had this goal and I met it. And I started this quilt for Robert because he's using the same comforter that I bought him when he was 2. Yeah, I bought him another one since then, so it's not me. Okay. And he used it for 2 or 3 days and said, Mom, I don't like that. And he went back to that same comforter.
Yeah.
But he's an adult, and in the not so distant future, he's going to want his own home, and possibly with a woman. And she does not want a comforter that is
From
21 years old. But regardless, he also just loves blankets in general. So it's part of just wanting him to have something that I think that he deserves, a new blanket. And yeah, I know quilts aren't blankets, so I don't want to hear about it. So that was on there for January to finish it. And just January was so busy with lots of things, not just the garage and just I haven't been feeling good and just kind of stuff like that, I'm not even half done with quilting it. But I will finish it. And then I can cross it off, right?
Yeah.
And the Itty Bitty Kitty Committee quilt, if, I want to get the 20 days in. I'm going to switch them all down to 15, though. I think it would be more reasonable. Because there is another project, but it will eventually get done. But if I get that done on it, and I see those kitties already ready, done, ready to go, ready to be put together, I'm more likely to actually finish that quilt.
Yeah.
And
I'll tell you, sometimes like with big things like quilts, it's so hard because you're like, you think about the top, the piecing, and you're like, oh, I can get this done, I can get it done. And then like when I got all those squares done, I was happy, but then I was like, oh no, now it's the rows, then it's the columns, then it's the, and then it's the borders, and then you have to sandwich and quilt the whole thing, and then you have to put the borders on, and don't forget the label, and then so it's kind of like you get demoralized a little bit. But that's why I like to have other projects in there.
My problem with working on a quilt and another quilt is that I don't want to change the thread. If I have the thread for this quilt in there, I want to work on this quilt until I don't have to work on it because I don't want to change the thread. And I have that problem also with working on project bags and stuff.
Yeah.
If I have... because I'm really picky about what thread color I use on the project bags. But for instance, I have greens. I will probably match a green to this. I might use white, but probably green. And if I have green thread in there, I'm going to work on green thread projects. I don't, I don't like changing my thread. And I've
Just
discovered...
do everything with ecru thread like I do. Like literally everything.
I had a time when I was doing everything with ecru.
Yeah.
But I don't want to do the project bags that way because I have a top stitch.
No, I know. I'm just joking. No, the thread I'm using to quilt this is that variegated thread, and it sort of shows up.
It does.
Looking at it down here, it sort of shows up, but otherwise everything is pieced in the ecru, and I bought an extra thing of it thinking I was going to run out, and I haven't because I buy those big fat spools of it, but.
The 2 bags that I made with quilting, those 2 bags, those are all ecru thread, and the my own quilt that I started, the quilt top that I have, that's ecru thread.
Like Dad's whole thing, I did it all ecru.
Yeah,
I did it all because I was like,
and changing. You know, when I was piecing the quilt for Robert's quilt, the thread that I had, I bought it specifically for that quilt. And it's very fine, and it barely showed up at all on it. And I don't like the way it looks on the ecru parts of the quilt. But, you know, I've done it.
I actually like thread that shows up.
I've done it, and that's...
Yeah. So I always pick a thread. Like, when I did the black quilt, I think I did black. But then, you know, on the lighter squares, it shows up, you know, on the quilting and stuff. So I kind of like it.
So for Beth's quilt, the thread is this gray color right here.
Oh, yeah, and that'll blend into everything. Gray blends into everything. I did get some gray for that bag, for the violin bag. I got gray.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what I've been doing.
That's kind of why I'm more of a color completist when I have, you know, like right now I thought, well, I could choose another color or I could just continue with this red. So I have to count like a million miles down here.
I'd rather change colors than count.
Yeah, I would rather do that than count.
For me, it kind of depends. You know, if it's reasonably close, I can count down to where I'm going to start. But in this case, it was because if I started a new color, I'd have to cut the thread apart and everything because and I don't want to have to deal with that on camera.
You don't understand how long it took her to get that to where she could cut a piece off.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
how does it come? Does it come like that?
It comes in one long, the whole length, 8 yards or 5 yards or whatever it is.
On that card, though.
6 yards, on the card. Yeah.
Oh.
And so you have to basically cut it apart to usable length. And what I always do is, cut it in half, like that, so that otherwise, you if you just say, oh, I'm going to use this much and cut the length off, then you have, So, but with these silks, I've only used the white and acorns, and so all the other colors, I have to start new. So, and I haven't cut any of the others one. So I was sitting here going, do I keep going with this color? So I'm going to keep going with this color. Yeah. But to me, I found that if something strikes my fancy that I want to start that pattern, I mean, I'll go ahead and buy, and I do get that sort of itchy, like, oh, I want to start this right now. I want to start right now. To me, part of the problem is that what I don't like about starting, and a lot of people do this, is the whole kitting up a project. It's much easier for me if something's already kitted up, already put, to go ahead and start it. But having to choose a fabric, the threads is not a problem usually, because especially if something is charted in DMC, I usually have all those. But that means I have to sort of get out. If I don't have the threads, I have to go through all my DMC boxes and pull the threads out. And like that Voyage of Discovery, one of the reasons why I'm working on the white for the sails is that I had the white out for something else, that I was working on. So I said, well, I know there's a bobbin of B5200 in there, so I'm just going to use that and some more skeins of it in that, because I was using it for whatever project it was on that I was working on in December, I guess, or something. And so I have a little box that has threads from whatever project I was working on before that I just haven't put away. And so I thought, well, surely something from that voyage of discovery is in that box. So I thought, okay, there's a lot of white in this, and there's the white, so I'll just do white. But last night I was looking at the pattern going, what other colors are there? What can I use? What can I do? So there's like some grays or something that are on there. So yeah. So I'm, but yeah, for me it's the gathering all the stuff. Like this one, I hadn't started it yet.
I was gonna say I enjoy getting
Some
it
people
ready.
love it.
How did we fix ourselves and you're off the screen again? What is wrong with you?
Oh, I went to do something. I wasn't on the chair right.
But yeah, like this one, I sit on a chair. Oh my gosh. I had
like trying to fix you, and you're like.
I was reaching for stuff. I have short arms.
I was. I had.
Rex
yeah. I had stuck this in a project bag to work on it for February, right? I thought, okay, here's all my February stuff, the Winter Crossstitch Camp, blah blah blah, and I thought, well, I'm gonna go ahead and do this February thing since I've done January already, right? And so I had put this in the thing, and I had a hoop in there, and I had my silk thread that I bought for these rabbit projects, and then and actually there was a pair. I didn't think there was a pair of scissors in there, but there was a pair of scissors. And then
did you give me a pair of scissors with that bag? Because
I don't remember.
I was like, I need some scissors in here. And this purple bag, and I was like, wait, there are scissors in there, and I don't remember those scissors. I don't remember buying them. I don't know where they came from.
I may have, yeah.
Well, you're the scissor queen, so I figured, she must have given me those scissors. Because I was like, there's a yarn needle. Oh, no. Now I remember these scissors. I bought these scissors in New Mexico because, remember, I took that scarf thing for Judy. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have a yarn needle or a pair of scissors to finish it. That's right. I bought those. Those are my $10 scissors I didn't want to buy. Never mind.
So I didn't buy the part. But I am the scissor queen.
You're the scissor queen.
When I started on that voyage of discovery last night, I was looking in because I had it in a Ziploc bag. I didn't have a project bag for it, and so I had some. The person that sent us the fabric sent us some project bags too. So I had them a couple of them sitting around. So I transferred all the Voyage of Discovery stuff into this project bag, and then I realized there weren't any scissors in there, and I think there wasn't a hoop in there either. But fortunately, I had just recently been to Hobby Lobby and like, I want to buy some more hoops. And so I had them
I'd
sitting
like you
around.
to do an inventory of how many hoops you have. And how many scissors you have.
I have one pair in every project that I'm working on right now. That's a current.
I was like, don't put that in your mouth. That was made in China. It's probably full of lead.
But I probably have like
20,
10 or 15 at least. I would imagine, but not every project that I have has a pair of scissors in it because the ones that I haven't worked on for a while.
Yeah.
Most of them don't have scissors, I think.
I have 5 pair.
I don't actually know how many I have.
But
yeah,
I have my 3 main project bags each have scissors.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have 1 pair of scissors right where I stitch.
Yeah.
And then there's a pair of scissors in this little thingy, which I can never use because it's buried.
Now I have in my dream box I have a bunch of scissors, but the one pair I use mostly.
I'm talking
is that
about
one.
embroidery scissors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have that.
these little tiny
But
ones.
the little tiny ones, I will see as a knitter, you don't need them all
Yeah.
the time. You know you can
Yeah.
plan when you need them. So I have this neat little roll with all my tools. I brought it on camera a couple times. It's a roll up thing. In there I have 2 or 3 pair, and then I have them scattered throughout the rest of my life. And I finally made peace with some snips that I bought. I don't like snips.
Are
like
these kind like
those little
the little 2 and
spring-loaded ones.
Mhm.
I don't like them because I can't carry them.
Mhm.
That's why I don't like them. Because if they're just out there with those points, you know, you're like, I can't put those in a project. I can't put them anywhere near.
They have to be in a
any
little
of this.
sheath.
And then if they're in a sheath, what's the point of having snippy shears? Because then you got to take them out of the sheath and use them. But I had some, and actually I don't like them, but I was been using them with the quilting because I bought some at Mulqueen. They're in a little plastic case and they slide in and out, and so you just slide them out and use them.
That's the kind of I bought a pair there. I think.
And so I kind of like it, but it doesn't. They don't stay out. You know, they slide back in. So then I pick them up and I have to maneuver it and slide it, and it defeats the purpose of fast. But it did help my hands because at one point when I was trying to trim, I think it was Dad's quilt, I was trying to trim some stuff and I had those big scissors, and by the time I was done my hands were killing me. So those little snips are nice, but I don't usually like them because they're so pointy and they scare me that they're gonna ruin things. I have to laugh at. I got a message in my group chat from my daughter that she said, "Horrible mutant BO on the bus today," with a bunch of Barbie faces. And she said it's like that episode of Seinfeld. Remember when the guy, I guess it was what do you call it? The guys that park your cars, what are those called?
The park your car.
Valet.
A valet got in his car with really bad BO, and it was on his car, and he couldn't get on him, and then he finally gave the car away, remember?
Well, you know, one time, a long time ago, my ex-husband and I were walking through Coronado Mall, and we went into a Sears.
I was with you.
Were you with me?
I was.
thought
I
it was-
remember
I thought
that.
it was just Kelly and I.
No, I think it was you and I.
And
It
we were in
burned
the
into my
Sears,
memory.
and we're like,
Yeah.
and it was this couple, and I think it was just the guy that, I mean, you could smell him
2
a couple
rows
aisles
down.
away. And I experience this sometimes in Florida, but this was worse.
It was.
And-
It was really bad.
And,
And you it just
where
lingered.
where your nose hurt.
It was burning.
Yeah. And I thought, do I have hair in my nose still? And so then we said, okay, finally, let's just get out of here. And we left the Sears. And then a little while later, we're like,
Oh no, he followed.
and then he and his girlfriend were just right there and was like, oh my God.
I remember that.
And
I
we were
remember
pretty
that.
far away from him. And we
I
could
remember
smell
because
him.
they were in an aisle, and then they left that aisle, and we went into the aisle, and it was still there.
Uh-huh.
It was so bad.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh,
It was bad. And you know, it in Florida, I would have people come in, you know, because it's so hot there.
Yeah.
It happens here too. Like I rode the light rail into town once, and I was like, no, we cannot ride the light rail in the summer. It's not a good idea. So the other thing I did this week is I went to traffic school online. Speaking of obeying rules in traffic.
Have you?
Those are so boring.
Have you met your goal of getting a ticket in every municipality in the greater Phoenix area?
You know, this was a repeat in Chandler, so it's really bad. And I've done so many of these. And I told my husband, I'm like, this has got to be a great way to make passive income, is to own one of these. Because when you go online to look for an online traffic school, there's a million. And I just grabbed the first one, and it said, what did it say? pay for less, simple, fun. It was supposed to be fun. Now, there was one of the first ones I ever did is how I discovered the comedian John Mulaney, because they had little comedy clips at the beginning of every lesson, and it was really great, and I actually enjoyed that one. And so I thought, oh, maybe this will be fun, but it was not fun. And they're so poorly written. It just drives me crazy. There's so many typos, and like one page will have, it's almost like they copy pasted from places and they put in like a paragraph about, I don't know, checking for motorcycles or something.
How can they get allowed? How
And
can
then
they
the
be allowed
very
to do
next
that?
paragraph says the same exact thing with a little bit of a different paragraph title.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so it's, and then there's typos, there's words left out. There was actual wrong information. It said, talking about having to stop for school buses, it said that, it's true that if you're on a divided road and if there's a median and there's a school bus on the other side going the other direction, stopped for kids, and there's a median, you don't have to stop on this side.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Right.
an actual rule.
Yes.
This said, if there is a bus, if you are on a divided street, you do not have to stop for the bus. It didn't specify which side the bus was on.
No.
Like, if the bus was on your side, you have to stop. If it's on the other side, you don't. It didn't specify that. And I'm like, this is actually illegal, wrong information on this class. It was so frustrating.
Did they have like some kind of
inform anybody?
No.
I wonder if they have some kind of a rule thing and they're supposed to create slides,
I think
they get authorized.
Because the very beginning of it was all about licenses and who gets a license, and if you're 16 you get this kind of license. So it looked to me at the beginning that they just took the Arizona driver's book that you get and just,
that's what I was.
then there's other stuff about like defensive driving and that kind of thing that people write. Like the last one I did, the last time I had to do one of these, it was really badly written. I can't describe it any other way. I can't even remember exact phrases to tell you, but things like, if you're stuck in traffic, even though you let somebody in front of you, it doesn't mean you're going backwards. And I was like, who wrote this? Like, it's just so
Nonsense.
bad. And then this one was literally copy pasted from a bunch of other ones, because after they kind of go through some of the rules, then they start expounding on what how you should approach like passing people on the highway and that kind of thing, and it's just it is literally a punishment, and I you take it as such, but it's just so badly written, it drives me crazy. And I told my husband we should create one of these, because people just choose you randomly, and they pay you a fee and then they pay the court a fee, right? But and you have to process some paperwork and get there, and then you have to send their results to the court, so you would have to do some work. But I'm like, gosh, this is a racket. I don't want to do that.
Everybody's got a side hustle.
Well, yeah, but I'm like, I could certainly write it better. Oh, it drives me crazy. Typos and stuff like that, they drive me nuts.
So
Can't take it.
while I was cleaning the garage, talking about stashes,
Oh, I was talking about tickets.
I know. Now I put it down to 2 boxes, 2 bins of old art supplies that that I just ended up buying other stuff, not paint and stuff, but
We found a rolled up thing
paintbrushes
of paintbrushes. Yeah,
paintbrushes
one of those cloth roll-up
and
things.
art paper and photo paper and stuff like that. Also, when I was in art school, I bought one of those little tool things with a handle, and it has a couple of levels and
like a fishing box, tackle box, but for art supplies.
yeah,
Cool.
it's big. Anyway, I kept thinking the one that was in there that I kept seeing was Dad's, and I would open it. I mean, mine, and I would open it, and it was Dad's. And then later on, I would see it in a different spot. And I said, well, maybe that one's mine. And I'd open it. And it was Dad's. So Dad moved mine, which I know now is mine, to the camping stuff area.
Because he thought it was his.
Because he thought it was his. I opened it and I was like, oh, yay! That's, and in there is, if I'm not mistaken, is my airbrush. And if I cleaned it properly, it's still in good condition. And it was my habit to clean it, so it's probably clean. But I was like,
I wonder if does it have a hose connected
I'm
to
sure
it?
she could buy stuff.
I was gonna say you might have to buy a new hose if it's been in the garage for a while because the heat might have eaten it.
no, it's just the
Machine.
the airbrush. It's the actual airbrush, not a machine.
Oh, I see.
I usually hooked it up to
A compressor.
canned air.
Oh, I see.
I bought a compressor and I had it in the garage in Albuquerque. This was when I was still living there, and Tim was in the garage for some reason. I don't know why. He was already, he lived somewhere else and all that. He was in the garage, and he took my compressor.
Oops.
I said, Tim, did you take my compressor? He goes, yeah, I just saw it in the garage and nobody was using it. No. I said, well,
Tim would do well in Apocalypse. I told him, because he's a scavenger. I told him, if ever, I said, I'm going to write you into my Apocalypse book. Because he's like one of those people that can kind of do everything.
yeah, I just told him he could have it because I hadn't used it in a long time.
Yeah.
Because it was made for construction kind of stuff, so it was really loud. But it was good for an airbrush too. But I didn't want to be out in the garage with this really loud thing, so the canned air was just easier. More expensive though. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Finding treasures.
Yeah.
That's what Mom said.
Beth found her.
I found my CD. I actually the box that they were in, because I thought, well, I know I have like a bunch of classical CDs, some that were just ones I bought, but some that were recordings of our concerts, the Arkansas Symphony concerts. I had a few of those, and I thought, well, they're not in the ones that I have in my room. I have one of those big notebook things of movies, and another big notebook thing of music. And actually, what I thought was out in the garage is actually in one of those big notebooks. I had taken, I guess when I moved, I took all the CDs and put them all in that big notebook thing. But I had a bunch of small CD cases, like from Best Buy, that I would use whenever I drove, like from Little Rock to Albuquerque. I'd take a whole bunch of those and listen to them, while I was driving, because it was a 15-hour drive. So I had thought I had left them in those individual things, but they were actually in my big case. But I found the CDs that were from the symphony, and I found a bunch of CDs that I had that are like Christian music recordings, and I found a notebook that had all the TV episode things from Big Bang Theory in Elementary and the X-Files. I had put them all in a one of those notebook things. So I was like, okay, no, I've got all my CDs now. It's like I was because I had looked because I've got some boxes out in the garage of stuff that from when I moved, and I knew they weren't in my room, and so I was like, well, maybe they're in here. No, maybe they're in here. No, maybe they're in here. No. So I had seen, we had these big, I don't know what you call them, shelf things in the garage. So we have like all of our Christmas stuff in one, and we were, talking about what we were going to put in the other one. And there was a cardboard box up there, and I thought, I bet my CDs are in that box. But, it's way up high and hard to get to. And Robert is the only one who can get up there nowadays. So, it's like, so when we were working on the garage, like, Rob, can you get that box down for me? So, yeah, so now my life is complete because I have all my CDs in one place.
Good for you. I can't believe this. I got to the
What
end
did
of
you
this
do?
row, and I didn't have the correct count. And I found my mistake. Way back here.
Oh, no.
And then, even though I pulled that cord through to save the stitch, it fell off. So that was fun. But I got it. Anyway, I'm just having a drama over here. And I'm like, I don't have because I wanted to find an extra stitch marker to mark where I found the mistake. And I'm like, I don't think I have one with me. But there was a straight one in this bag. I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. So now I have to tink, T-I-N-K, knit backwards. Unknit. Unknit. Well, we all have stash. As Mark says, he loves it. I taught him that new phrase, S.A.B.L.E.
Yeah.
Stash acquired beyond life expectancy.
Yeah.
That's where I am right now. Both in spinning fiber, in yarn, in cross stitch. There's no way.
I found a whole bunch of fabric.
Good fabric, like you could make bags from and stuff.
Stacked up like this, like I was going to make a dress or something.
Oh my gosh.
And with that, I found a scarf or something that I had knit or crocheted, maybe crocheted, but it was made with like acrylic yarn, and I think the reason it was in there with the rest of the yarn, I like the colors, but I don't like the way it feels.
Yeah, acrylic yarn. It's better now, but it used to be just awful. Like some of that, some acrylic yarns are really nice, and I am the first person to not be a yarn snob, but some acrylic yarns, like the old Red Heart, is like almost scratchy.
I think it was
like
red.
Scratchier than wool
Red
would
Heart.
be.
And when I was in Belgium, the yarn that I would buy there was so soft, but it was really thin.
Was it wool?
No, I don't think so. It was really, really soft and thin. I don't think I have anything made with it. I don't think I have.
This is alpaca. It's so soft. Feel it. Eve, this is a baby alpaca. Feel that.
You take the wool off a baby alpaca?
Soft like that, but thinner than this.
I was gonna say, when there was one time I was I was playing a concert with the Fort Smith Symphony, and so I had driven from Little Rock. I had worked, and I drove out there and we had rehearsal in the evening, and I realized after rehearsal that I had forgotten my blacks. I had left them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so the next day I went to Penny's to look for something suitable for the concert. And so I was, going through there, and they had these polyester, like little shell kind of things, and I tried them on, and it was like
Like a trash bag.
Yeah, it was. It was like it was kind of like snug fitting and just like it wasn't shaped right or something. At least what I was trying on, the particular size or whatever. But it was like, but then like the material, it was just like. It was too. It like didn't give. It didn't breathe. It didn't. And so I ended up buying like an overpriced, fancy T-shirt basically. Yeah. But I tried 2 or 3 of these little polyester shells, and I was like, I can't stand it. I can't stand it. I'm like, but like now, but a lot of times now you really can get polyester that's not bad.
Oh yeah, they make it's nice now.
Yeah, but
that's what the owner of the yarn shop I go to says. She's a proponent for wool. Mm-hmm. So we would talk about that all the time, especially like in spin class. Like, that's why I joke you're not allowed to say, is it soft? Mm-hmm. What does soft mean? And she always says the softest yarn that you're ever going to find is made out of petroleum. Mm-hmm. And nowadays they make really nice synthetic fabrics.
I want to say that
Thank
might
goodness.
have been cashmere.
Oh, yeah.
because it was real thin. It was real lightweight,
Yeah.
kind of fat, and it was
Fuzzy, kind of. Yeah.
It was so soft.
Yep.
And I can't remember what I bought it for. I remember it was like a teal
Made out of
yarn
a
and
bunny rabbit.
Yeah. So what they use that
Angora.
what a lot they use or maybe it was like Angora or what they use that kind of fiber for now. I mean, people make things out of just it, but it's so thin that you use it as an additive. So like you'd take this yarn and you'd add a purple one.
I think
to
I
it.
made a baby something with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it you can buy it like that. It's like a lace weight. Yeah. I've always wanted to make a sweater with that. Some of the sweaters I have calls for wool and the I think it's Angora goat fiber. There. Okay, made it back to my mistake. Made it back to my mistake.
So was that
Yeah.
all the stories we had?
I think so. I have pictures. I'm going to show you pictures of my the reason this quilting is taking me so long is that my little friend, my husband says to me, I'll put up a picture here. This is what I've had to deal with all week. I sit down to quilt, and here comes Hobbs, and he's just like luxuriating on Hannah's quilt. Just it's so cute.
He thinks
just
you're
gets up
making
there.
it for him.
I know, but he's so. My husband comes in, and he's like, he loves you so much. He goes, he's infatuated with you. And like I always say, I love it, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I actually he feeds my soul, that little cat, but he also drives me crazy.
But once in a while, you'd like to be able to work on it.
Yeah, like he'll get behind also put a picture of him looking at the walking foot, and he puts his little hand there, and he's not trying to grab the needle, but he's just trying to, like, he'll reach for me through the throat of the machine and touch. So cute. But it's just so funny, and he just wants to get in there. And so then I'll get him to be off, so I have my sewing machine with the little table, right? And then the rest of my table is behind it. And so I'm sewing and I'm feeding through this giant quilt, right? Mm-hmm. And he'll lay down behind there, and I just shove the quilt over him to where he's basically all rolled up inside because the folds of the quilt just go over him, and he's in there just purring. I'm like, I guess it's a nice warm quilt because you really like it. He's so funny though.
What I like lately is that my cats have been when I turn off the light, if I'm finally going to bed, right?
Yeah.
You turn off the light, turn off my stitching light, and so I'm there, and so when this ideal, Snug will come up and lie down beside me and rest his little head on my arm and start purring, and then so I'm kind of like on my side a little bit, and he's there on my arm. And he's purring around. His head is right here on my arm, and he's purring and purring. And then Puck will come up and lie down on my hip, on my side, and he sits on my there and he starts purring. And so they're like.
Well, it's been so cold lately. It has actually been cold. It was in the 30.
It was 45 this morning.
No, but it was in the pretty
yeah,
low 30s.
39, I think,
or 37,
yeah.
30. I woke up.
I
and
was
it was
stunned that it was 45. I was like, no wonder I'm cold.
In the middle of the night, the other night, I was going to bed and I looked and it was like 34. It was almost freezing, and I'm like, I hope our orange tree survives. But one of the reasons I looked at the temperature is I was ready to go to bed, and I went to plug in my iPad, and in our dining room, my husband replaced I love it. He replaced one of our sockets with the kind that it's got 2 plugs and then 2 USB ports in it. And it's really nice. So I went to plug in my iPad, and through the holes in the plug, I could feel super cold air, and I'm like, so I look, and it was like low 30s, very close to freezing.
Yeah, when we got out to, what was it, Wednesday, or I don't remember, we were running around, it was windy. And it's like I opened the door and I go, shh, and the palm tree
I thought it was
fronds were like,
raining, and I was just hearing the wind.
yeah.
Yeah. Our porch is full of leaves and everything. Yeah, it got really windy. And
Oh, did you see that? Where? Somewhere here in the greater Phoenix area, which is huge. It was so windy, like in this 66 miles an hour. Maybe it was in
Oh, yeah,
Arizona.
it like a...
McDonald's sign got
Fell
blown
over, yeah.
over and fell in a car.
Yeah. Yeah, it was somewhere in another town.
that's
in
a
Arizona,
summer
but, yeah.
occurrence here. Like,
Yeah.
wow.
Well, you know,
Yeah, it was somewhere else in Arizona. It was.
I was going to say,
It was one of the outlying cities.
in Little Rock, you know, we were in Tornado Alley.
Pardon
you know,
me. I'm sorry.
part of Tornado Alley, and there was one night when we had some tornadoes go through, but we had straight line winds.
Yeah.
And I lived on 7th Street, and on 9th Street, right by the freeway, I was like maybe a couple blocks from there. You know, we weren't far from the freeway, maybe 2 blocks from the freeway and a block or so from this Shell station. So there was a Shell station right on the corner by the freeway, and it had one of those big tall signs, you know, and it went over into the freeway. Yeah, and that was the year that there was I think on the way to Memphis, or between Little Rock and Memphis, you know, the traffic was basically stopped because of the tornadoes and the storms and everything going through, and this one guy was talking about how he could see up ahead he was a truck driver, and he could see up ahead of him the semis just going boom, boom,
Oh my
boom,
gosh.
because of the wind. And he goes, I knew my turn was coming, so I just got down on the floor of my truck, and it went boom.
Oh no.
Went over. Yeah, so it's very,
Yikes.
you know,
Yeah,
it was very scary in that area.
The other day, I was going to lunch. Was it yesterday? Going to lunch with my husband, and I was driving up the 101, and it was really windy yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm driving. I'm like, what is that feeling? Like my car was whipping around. So then we go to lunch, and I'm driving him back to his office on this very busy road, and up there it's Shea Road, you know. It's tons of traffic anyway. But all of a sudden we see black smoke coming. We could see it. And we're like, what is that? And we go, and my husband leans over, and he's like, there's something burning on the rocks on the side of the road. And I'm like, oh, weird. And so we get up there, and it wasn't a bush, like a sage bush or something, in the landscaping. It was just this thing. And as we pulled up, so as I'm pulling up, this guy in a little work truck, it's like a plumbing truck, he just pulls in front of me with no signal or anything and gets into the turn lane. And I'm like, you know, startled me. And the reason was that he had a fire extinguisher on his truck, so he pulls up there. But and he's trying to put it out, but as we're driving by, I look into the flames because I'm trying to see what's it is.
Burning?
And it was like, what I remember seeing was a little black box about this big. And we're like, it was just randomly on the side of the street. Like there's a sidewalk there and there's power poles. And I'm like, it was really close to a power pole, which kind of scared me. But I was like, did somebody just throw it out their window? Like there was nothing but cars there. There's a sidewalk and this huge landscaped berm, basically. And then like parking lots for businesses, all those businesses up there on Shea Boulevard. So it wasn't like, it was just this random fire. And as we're going, you know, we pass and the guy gets out and we're like, oh, he has a fire extinguisher. That's why he ran in front of me to get there. And so I'm watching in my mirror and there's people coming from the parking lot area and everyone's kind of converging to try. And we see them like, finally we see white powder going and then we see like, I don't know if it was the wrong kind of fire extinguisher for whatever was burning, but I saw it go up and I'm like,
Oh my God.
what is that? And then later on I see on my Citizen app, they mentioned like unreported, you know, firefighters are responding. So I guess they finally called the
Because they couldn't get it to go out.
Get it to go out. I don't know what it finally was, but I was like, it was such a weird thing. And then this morning, on my way to get eggs, I see the sign that says vehicle fire on the right-hand lane up ahead, and I go, and there was looked like a landscaping truck, kind of. The whole bed of the truck was burnt.
You know,
Maybe it's like
We're
maybe
used
it's a
to-
gas from
Probably.
like a trimmer or something. I
We're
don't know.
used to here in Phoenix quite frequently in the summer there are car
Toastmobiles.
fires. They're called barbecues.
Barbecues or toastmobiles.
Yeah.
Because it's so
But
hot and everybody overheats.
and you I
there
would
was a
warn,
segment about vehicle fires in my online training.
I
asked my
warn,
nephew. Her son is wanting to become a police officer. He's going through all the stuff to get into the academy, and I said, if you become a police officer in Gilbert, can I speed? Or I said, if you become a police officer, can I speed in Gilbert? He's like, I'm gonna throw the book at you. Sorry. Anyway, barbecues.
I would tell people that I knew were new to Arizona when I was driving Uber. I was like, the very first thing you have to do is buy a new battery, make sure it has the guarantee. And then you need to make sure you properly maintain your car with oil or whatever. It will burst into flames. And because people, I think, need to be told these things.
Yeah.
Like there should be a
handbook.
welcome to Arizona. Replace your car battery now before it dies on you. It will die very soon.
And expect to replace it in the summer at some point.
When I first moved out here in October, I think one of the very first job interviews I had,
Your battery.
I went out to go to the interview, and the battery just was dead, and so I was like, panicking.
She hadn't even been here that long.
Yeah, and fortunately Naomi was not doing anything. I was like, coming, and so she drove me to my interview, and I had called AAA, I think, at some point, like I don't know when I got back or something like that.
Yeah.
But then I went out and tried it, and it started.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to. I was able to, had some leeway to go get a new battery. But yeah, I had not been here very long when it had done that. And
or the other thing, if you move to Phoenix, don't ever let anybody play a trick on you. And they're going to say to you, will you pick me up at the airport at Terminal 1?
Yeah.
I'll be waiting for you at Terminal 1. Because then you'll drive around looking for Terminal 1 and it will not be there.
Well, now there's not even going to be a Terminal 2, or there isn't a Terminal 2. So they're closing that terminal. Yeah.
I know, but it's like, this is so funny because you drive into the airport, it says Terminal 2, Terminal 3, Terminal 4. I think there used to be a Terminal 1 at some point, but it's just so funny that they never renamed it.
Changed it.
They never changed them.
It would be too confusing if we called Terminal 4 Terminal 3.
They'd have to pay for a new sign.
Yeah. When you're talking about barbecues, that at one point when I lived in Little Rock, I think it was early on, or maybe it was later on in the evening, but they had a phone bank thing for the symphony where you'd call up and get people to renew their season ticket subscription or whatever.
Right.
And so I had been doing that. So I was, in North Little Rock somewhere, and I was coming along the freeway to go back down into Little Rock, and there was a truck that was on fire, but it was on the other side. So I was on this side of the freeway going toward town, and it was on the other side of the freeway, going the other way, and it was in the shoulder, and I was in the far right lane because I was getting ready to go down into town. And it was on fire, and from across the freeway, there was 2 or 3 lanes on that side, and then the median, and 2 or 3 lanes on this side, and it was so hot.
Oh, it's scary.
It was
very scary.
Yeah, because I had my window down, because it was summertime or something like that.
I drove by a car on fire off of the 202s taking somebody, and I had to be near that because I had to get off on that intersection.
It's scary. I'm terrified of it.
And police were there and everything,
Yeah.
but it was so hot.
Yeah, I drove by one. Well, you can tell how hot they are because afterward you can see where the car burned for ages.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a spot on the freeway. It's probably not. I'm going to sneeze again. I'm so sorry. There's a spot on the freeway. There was. It's probably torn down now because they're doing construction. But for ages, that was you could see the pavement was burnt, the wall was burnt, like the metal was misshapen of the little fence in between. I drove by one on 101 once, and it was on the shoulder, and had just started, and people were walking around trying to get traffic to go away from the car.
Yeah.
They were walking on the freeway. I was like, you all are going to get killed. But there was no firefighters there yet.
When I was in Albuquerque, I was working with, I was doing artwork for somebody, commissioned art. And his wife had a brand new Lexus, I believe. Brand new. And her business, she had to drive all over the place. And
I remember that car.
She was on her way.
Did that.
Yeah, she was on her way to Santa Fe from Albuquerque, and she had another person in the car. And partway up there, in between Santa Fe and Albuquerque is a freeway and nothing else.
Mm-hmm. In many parts, yeah.
There's not a lot of stuff around there. There's many places where you can't pull off. There's you can pull to the side of the road, but there's not, a gas station or whatever. It's kind of growing up a little bit, from Albuquerque, kind of going up a little bit. But anyway, she saw some smoke coming up from her hood. And her friend said, pull over now. And she's like, well, it doesn't look that bad. Maybe I can get to a gas station or something. She goes, no, pull over now. And so she did. And the friend got out and ran. And she stopped to get her purse. Her purse was behind the driver's seat. She stopped to get out her purse, and she was just barely clearing the car when the engine went.
Gee whiz.
Right. And she said if that person had not been in the car and made her get off, she'd been driving by herself, she'd have been killed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I remember those. I remember that particular model. I remember that they had
an issue with it. Yeah, and she said that there they are standing on the side of the road going, I hope somebody stops for us.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I think it wasn't winter.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. That's scary. I've never had anything like that happen. Just my smoking oil on my stove. I did burn a box of
I was going to say you started
mashed potatoes when we were newlywed. It was in our very first apartment, and I had a bad habit of putting things on. This is how you learn things, right? Of putting things on the burner. And we were going to make instant mashed potatoes, and I had set it down on a burner. I had set the box down on a burner and put the water on another burner, and then turned on the wrong one, I guess.
Didn't you do that here in Phoenix too? When the kids were little? With macaroni and cheese, I think. Yeah, in the house where Rachel's living now.
Well, I did that. I don't remember that. I don't remember that at all.
Oh, I do.
I remember. Well, this fire actually.
Because you were afraid the fire alarm would go off and scare Eli.
I don't remember. But anyway, with this, the box caught fire, and I was like, panic. And Mark just walked in, picked it up, put it in the sink, and turned the water on. And we didn't have to use the fire extinguisher. But we did use the fire extinguisher in that house, in that apartment one time, because we had a candle on the table. And I should ask Mark now, I can't remember. I think it something caught fire. Like the candle burned down too far. I don't remember exactly. But for some reason, he used the fire extinguisher on the table. And we had our cassette tapes, that's how long ago it was, on the wall behind the table. And those cassette tapes were full of that gritty powder forever. Like I could probably go find some in our closet. Because you can't get it out,
Yeah.
But I remember that. But I don't remember burning something at Redfield.
Starting to have a bun.
Oh, cute. I don't remember burning anything at Redfield House.
I remember when.
Yeah, on that white stove, and it was the same thing. You put something
On a
on
hot
one burner and you turned on like something like the water for the macaroni and cheese or
Yeah.
something, and you went and sat down and were watching TV waiting for the water to boil, and you started smelling
I
something.
don't remember. I honestly
And
don't remember
I think
that.
you were alone in the house with except the kid.
I don't remember that.
Eli was little.
Well, I would have had both kids if I was at Redfield.
Yeah.
I had both kids there.
Yeah. Yeah, because
the mashed potato fire happened
In
before
Albuquerque.
kids. No,
Here,
but at Baseline before kids, pre-kids, and also that candle fire, and then if I was at Redfield, I would have had both kids, because Hannah was 8 months old when we moved there.
well, maybe that's why you were so afraid that the fire alarm would go off because Eli was afraid of him.
I don't remember. I honestly don't remember, but it's possible. I mean, I'm basically, we've already established I'm basically an idiot. So
well, you know, when I was all the time that I lived in my second apartment in Little Rock, I was wary of the things because I saw that movie a long time ago with Tom Hulse and
Tom Hulse.
I
There's a
can't
name
remember.
from the
I
past.
can't remember the other guy's name. Somebody famous, but but he they were these two brothers, and Tom Hulse had like some
Mental impairment.
mental impairment because he had an accident when he was a kid or something. But so at one point, so he lives with his brother, and so at one point they were gonna go somewhere, and the brother was admonishing him because he had left a pizza box on the stove, and it was like a gas stove, I guess. And he was talking about how it could have caught fire from the heat of the where the pilot light is.
Yeah.
So not to leave a pizza box there because it would have caught fire. And so I was always thinking about that scene whenever I would I would order pizza because the easiest place to put it was on top of the burners of the stove.
Yeah.
And so, but I knew that underneath that was was hot from the pilot light.
That's funny.
And I remember a conversation I had with somebody in the symphony. And she was talking about how, or maybe it was somebody at church, I don't know, but she was talking about how she had this, one of her cats would always lie right there in between the burners on her stove because it was warm.
Yeah.
And so the cat was always there.
Yikes. Yeah, gas stove scared me.
Yeah.
Open flames.
I lived in fear of my stove and my oven the whole 2 years 2 years. The whole time I was in my second apartment, I was always paranoid.
2, 3, 4.
I remember, one time I had made some eggs and I left the burner on. And because I took the pan off the flames, because I wanted to dump it in my plate or whatever. And I put the pan somewhere and I went and sat down.
Yeah.
And I ate my dinner and every blah, 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 watched TV. And so I went to take the plate back and there was the burner.
No, I've left burners on, electric burners. Especially, I turned one down to warm the other night and left it there and forgot all about it. My fancy stove won't tell me that. Eli's stove
Or an oven.
where he is will tell you and will shut off if he's not in close proximity to it, which is nice. I'm like, I need one of those for my house. Apparently.
I just, for all you guys that are out there where it's really cold and you think, 45, I'd love 45. Well, just remember that, when our everyday temperature here is in the 70s and then all of a sudden it's 45,
we don't know how to dress. That's the problem.
we don't have the clothes.
So, I know. So I picked Eli up. It was in the 30s. It was like 39. And I went to get him. Mm-hmm. And the child comes out in shorts and flip-flops. I'm like, dude. And he's like, it's fine. I'm fine. It's fine. I'm like, honey, did you at least bring some jeans? And he was wearing a sweatshirt, but he's shorts and flip-flops because that's the standard
guy. That's the guy where Robert does that too.
Yeah. And I'm like, and so later on he's like, yeah, kind of cold. Yeah. And we had to go to an appointment early in the morning. I'm like, you're going to freeze tomorrow in your stupid flip-flops. I know. It's all right. It's fine. Okay.
Yeah. So.
It's funny because today he walked over to an ATM machine and he called me because he was confused by something he saw, and so I was talking to him, and I because he was showing me what it was saying with his phone, it went down to the ground. I could see he was wearing shorts, and I think he was wearing his Crocs, but he was wearing shorts, and I'm like, aren't you freezing? I'm thinking to myself, and I hear a girl walking past him. Oh, it's cold out here. And I'm like, yeah, there's my son in shorts. It's ridiculous. Anyway, so feel sorry for us, but we know.
No, we know you guys are colder. Yeah. We know you guys have dangerous snow conditions on the roads, and we complain about it being 45, and we're cold, but
winter's over by 2:00. So
but that's why we live here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but you talk to us in July. Oh, it's 62. It's summer again. So we just had a little bit of winter. I like it when it's cold enough I have to wear something. I'm like, I need to wear something. Yeah, so like this sweater. He's gonna wear it to work, or and not need to wear it home, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's like our intern professor said, you don't have to shovel warm.
Yeah. Well, you guys have a good week.
Yes.
And keep up with your challenges, if any of you are doing any.
Yes.
And we're going to try to keep up with ours, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.